Hello guys, good day. Alright, so I hope all of you are doing well. Okay, so today we're gonna discuss all about the functions with the return values. Okay, so in the previous discussion we have discussed the function which is using a void, meaning we cannot return a value on that specific function. Okay, so with this function, so we can use a return value, okay, in order for us to return a value or a specific value that we want. Alright, so to start with, let us go to the objective of this topic. So the objectives are the following. So at the end of this discussion, the students are able to implement the C++ function with having a return value. Okay, so understand the importance of using return value in the function. And the last one is discuss the process of the function having a return value. Alright, so I hope at the end of this discussion, so you will attain all of these objectives. Alright, so let us proceed. So the keyword or return keyword that we are going to use to return a value to the main function. Alright, so in the previous instance or discussion, so to avoid the void keyword indicates that the method did not return a value. Okay, so instead of using the void, we are going to use the data types, okay, which is an int or integer, the string, float, double, okay, and so on. Okay, so and the return keyword within the function to make the function return a value. So these are the specific keyword that we can use, okay, so to make us return a value into the to the main function. Okay, so we are not going to use void to return a values because void doesn't have a value, meaning void is a valueless, okay, data type. Alright, so we can only use string, integer, float, double, and so on. Okay, in order for us to return a value to the main function. Okay, so to start, I have here an example. Okay, so this program uh, will illustrate or will demonstrate how to return a value to the main function. Okay, your function will return a value to the main function. Alright, so I have declared my function here, int my area. Okay, so I have here the parameter int a and int b. Alright, so this is the declaration, and the definition of this function is here. So int my area, int a, int b. Okay, so I have here int x. Okay, I used to declare another variable to hold the result of this two data that is being calculated. Okay, so after the calculation of this variable a and variable b, so the result will be stored in this particular variable. Alright, so which is later on we will return the value of this variable to the main function here. Alright, okay, so the declaration, okay, so I have declared here without the definition, and I have also here the main function. Okay, so I used to declare three variables. Okay, so the function the program will compute the total area of the length and the width. Okay, so I have here the variable area, which is the storage of the result. Okay, so after calculating calculating or computing the two value, so this will be used to store the value. Okay, but where the value came from, okay, that's the reason. Okay, so asa na to or asa gikan ang ato ang value nga i-store na to sa ato ang area. Alright, so I will tell you that later on. So I have here also area is equals to my area, length, and width. Okay, so this statement will pass this 2 value into this function. Alright, so after passing, okay, so we have here the value of length is 5, the value of width is 6. So we are going to pass this function, value or variable into this function. Why? What's the purpose of passing? The purpose of passing this 2 value is in order for us to calculate the data inside it. Okay, it's because we don't have a calculation here in the main function. The calculation is in the function that we have created. So that is why this data will be transferred or passed into the function so that the data will be calculated. Okay, so my area, so just call the name of the function length and width. Alright, then after this one, it will be passed into this parameter a and b. So now a and b has a value of 5 and 6. Okay, so to calculate these 2 value, I have used this variable to store the calculated value of this length and width, okay, which is coming here. So after the calculation of these 2 variable, the data will be stored here. Okay, so just like for example, we will calculate 5 times 6. Okay, so 5 will be on the parameter a, and the width will be on the parameter b. Okay, so it's because we have passed this value already using this statement. Alright, so after the calculation, so 5 times 6 is equal to 30. Alright, so 30 is now going to store in this particular variable. Alright, so this variable is containing 30. Okay, based on the calculation of the 2 data. Alright, so now let us going to return this value. Okay, the calculation. So return this value, so you need to do is return x. Okay, you just call the variable which is here. Okay, who is the one stored the 30. Okay, so put it here and return this into the main function. So we have here a return key, return x, so meaning the x will be returned into this main function. Okay, so where did we store the 30? Okay, we are going to store the 30 here in the area. Okay, so automatic your program will identify where are you going to store this return value. Alright, so if you have a variable here, automatic that value will be transferred into this particular variable. Alright, so in order to show the output, okay, so you need to have a say out. Okay, so this is also, again, this is also will determine where the data is going to store. So because of area is equals to my area. Okay, so this means that area is the storage of whatever the output, or what would be the output to this particular data here. Okay, that is being calculated from the function. Alright, so after the calculation, usually automatically this data or the value of the exact amount based on the calculation will be stored in this area. Alright, so to give the output, you just call this variable name. Okay, so we have here, that is why we have here cout area is area. Okay, so meaning we have we need to provide an output, okay, which is 30. Alright, so let me show you the example program. I have here example program. Alright, so same program. Alright, so what I did is I used to simplify the data, the codes that we have. Okay, so let me get this one first. Okay, let me go back into this part. Alright, this one. Okay, So this is the way that I explained to you, okay, in the slides. So this is now the process. So in order for us to identify what is the output, the thing that we need to do is to run the program. If the result is really returned it into the function or the main function. Okay, so now the result of our program is the area is 30. Okay, so meaning our program is good. Okay, so it is successfully returned the value, okay, which is coming from the function into the main function. Okay, so to simplify this codes, okay, you can use the other way. Okay, let me use this as a alright, so comment sana na siya, then we will use this one. Alright, so what we are going to do is to make it short to our program, we just need to have here return A times B. Alright, so this is very easy. This is a simple way to do it. How are we going to return a value, okay, without using this one? Okay, so whatever the output is, so it would be usually the same. Alright, so the only different here is just we directly return the value of A times B. Okay, we did not declare any other any variable, just to store whatever value, okay, or whatever the calculation of these two variable. So we did not use any variable to store the result. Okay, so this function will automatically return the value of whatever the result of this particular data. Okay, so A divided times B is equals to 30. So meaning you are returning here 30. Okay, so return A and B, A times B, so automatically this will implemented. Okay, so whatever the data that you have returned here, automatic it will be stored in this area, okay, in this variable, which is the area. Okay, so to give the output, you just need to have a C out. Okay, so let us run. Oops, return, sorry. Alright, there. So the output is the same. Okay, so it's up to you if whatever process that you want to create or that you want to make in order for you to give or have the same output. Okay, so they always said there are many things to kill a chicken. Alright, so to give the output of the specific program, so there are also many ways, okay, to do it, not just only one process, okay, to come up with the same output. So you can have any other way or easy way in order for you to come up the result. Okay, so this is how return a value works. Okay, so all you need to remember is you just need to have this statement and equals, meaning whatever the calculation in this particular function will be stored in the variable area. Okay, it's because return, meaning you are going to return the value of this calculation to the main function. Okay, you cannot return this calculation into its own body. Okay, you can only return into the main function. Alright, so I hope you understand about this one. Okay, let me show you something. What if I am not going to use a constant value, since I have used here the constant value of the data? So what if you're going to use or we are going to ask a value from the user? So let me show you like this. Cout and line. So enter the length. Alright, so enter the length, so meaning you need to make the user enter the length, okay, so that you can calculate the two value. So where are we going to store this input? Is we are going to use the length variable. So all you need to do is just to have cn length. Alright, there. Okay, so whatever value that the user input, so will be stored in this particular data. Okay, so let us try. Okay, so the program will not execute directly the result. Why? It's because the data or the program will ask first about the data, that about the length, okay, of how many length does a user input. Okay, so let us say 7. Okay, so automatic, your program will calculate how much is the area of the total length and the total width. Okay, so width and length will be multiplied together in order to come up with the total area. Okay, so 7 times 6 is now 42. So this is the area, total area of the length and the width. Okay, so the program will only execute the result if the user can already, or the user already input the data for the length. Okay, so same as usual for the width. If you are not going to use this as a constant value, if you want to let the user input the value of the width, then usually this is the process. Okay, so it's just the same. So all you need to do is just to delete this one and use this variable name to store the data that is being inputted by the user. Alright, okay, so I hope you understand this particular topic. Okay, so this is how are we going to return a value from the main function. Okay, so you can use any data type here just to return except void. Okay, so the void cannot be used to return a value. Okay, you can only use a void just to pass a value from the main function to the function. Okay, so this is our predefined function. Alright, so predefined meaning the user will create its own function, okay, and build its own definition. Alright, okay, so I think this is all. I hope you understand this topic. Okay, so let me show you the activity after this discussion. So this is your activity. Okay, all you need to do is to answer or to create a program based on our first discussion, which is the function with the returned values. Okay, so all you need to do is to create a program that will ask input name of the user, okay, name of the user, and the daily salary. And after that one is you're going to calculate the daily salary of the user. Okay, and as an output, the program should display the name of the user and the total salary per month. Okay, so implement the function with the return value. Okay, so all you need to do is to explain the process of your program so that I can verify that you understand the lesson. Okay, you will submit the screenshot of the codes and output. Use the submission comments on the LMS to explain the process of your program. Okay, so you are going to explain the process of your program on this particular topic. Okay, so make sure to explain the process of your program so that I can give you a perfect score. Alright, so if you cannot explain well about your program, then your score will have a deduction. Okay, it depends on your performance. Alright, so a sample output would be like this: name Jake Morales, monthly salary, so 12,534.65. Alright, so this is a float. It's because we have here a decimal point. So it's up to you to build your program just to have an output look like this one, but this is not a constant value, huh? So all you need to do is ask a value from the user. Okay, ask the name and ask the daily salary. Okay, you don't need to use constant value here. Alright, okay, so I hope you will understand this instruction. Okay, let's proceed to the next topic. Our next topic is all about function overloading. Okay, what is function overloading? Usually function overloading is used in some ways. Okay, just like for example, if you have a lot of functions, like for example, I will let you create a calculator using a function, then calculator must have a lot of functions. Okay, so we can use 3, 2 or more than 3 functions, okay, in a program. Each function should have different definition, or what should have different functionality. Okay, so you are the one to set the different functionality or definition of each function. Okay, you but before that, let us have the objectives first. So our objectives here is that you as a student should learn how to use function overloading in making a program. Okay, understand the process of the function overloading. Okay, able to discuss the use of function overloading and its important. Okay, so I hope at the end of this discussion you will attain these objectives. Okay, so let us proceed. Many functions of the same name but different parameters can be combined using function overloading. Yes, you can have a lot of function with the same name. Okay, so as you can see here, my function is storing whole number, meaning integer. Okay, and the other one is storing a number which has a decimal point. Okay, and the other one is the function which will be stored double. Alright, so all of this is having the same function name. Okay, but I will not recommend you using the same name for the function. This is because there might be some cases that you will be what's this? You will forget what are the specific definition of this specific function. Okay, it is better to have different name. Okay, which will indicate what is the purpose of that function. Just like for example, add val. Okay, so meaning of add val is adding a value. Okay, and like for example again is mul val or multiply a value. Okay, so that is understandable. Okay, understandable how the function works. Okay, so it is very easy to identify the function of the variable based on the names. It's because if you are using the same name, so there might be a tendency that okay, I forgot what is the function or what is the definition, really the definition of this function. Okay, so there might be a tendency that you will be you will forget. Okay, so that much better to have a name which uh, which be specified on the specific function or the specific definition in your function. Okay, let me show you this one. Okay, I have here example. Okay, I have here two functions. Alright, so I used add val, so meaning this function will add a value. Okay, and I have here also divide val, so meaning this function will divide a value. Alright, so it is easy for us to understand. Okay, just by reading the name, so you can directly understand, okay, this function can add a value, okay, this function can divide a value, right? So it is very easy for us to identify, unlike if I am just going to have um, my value, all right? So if you have a parameter look like this one, so you cannot understand directly, okay, what is the purpose of the function, right? So in order for you to understand it well or easily, so please provide a name that will indicate the functionality or the definition of your function. Alright, so I have here void add val, so meaning void, we cannot return a value on this function. Okay, what we're going to do is just to pass the value into the function. Okay, so we will be passing a value into this function. Okay, but we cannot return a value into this function. Okay, it's because we are using void. Void meaning valueless, or there is no value. Alright, so I have here int x equals x equals a plus b. Alright, then the cout is here. Cout result is, so I just called x, it's because the calculation here of the two variables are stored in this particular variable. Alright, and this function I used float. Okay, it's because I am going to divide a data or a value which has a decimal point. So divide val, float c, float d. Okay, so I just used return c, divide d. Okay, so I just made our codes shorter. Okay, right, so I'm using this one. It's because if we are going to set another variable, so there might be a tendency that our code will be longer, okay, rather than this one. So I just make it short in order for us to easily to understand also, okay, how does a return value works. Okay, so I already discussed this in the previous discussion that we have. Right, so let us proceed here in the main function. So I have here two variable, value 1 and value 2, and we have here the value 3 and 5. Okay, this value will be passing into this particular function. Okay, add val, so we will adding this value. Okay, so to pass this data into this value, or into this function rather, you need to call the function name. Okay, call the function name with a parameter val1 and val2. Okay, so meaning whatever value here and here will be passing into this parameter a and b. So parameter value 1, which has a value of 3, will transfer into parameter a, and value 2, which has a value of 5, will be transferred to parameter b. Alright, so after passing this value, so automatic this will be calculated into this function. Okay, it's because the definition of this function is to calculate the data. Okay, to calculate whatever data that is being transferred or passed into this particular parameter. So to calculate, you just need to have an extra variable to hold the total amount of the calculation. So a plus b is equals to 8. So now our x has a value of 8. It's because of this calculation. Alright, so to provide an output, all you need to do is to have the cout. Okay, result is x. Okay, so you're going to call x is because x has a value of 8. Okay, which is the total calculation of the two variable. Alright, so the other one we have here, cout answer is divide val 13 and 14. Okay, what is the purpose of this one? Alright, so this one I just made also another direct value. Okay, I did not create any variable here. Okay, automatically I give that value directly into the parameter. Okay, we just transfer, or we just pass this value into this parameter. Okay, so we have here cout answer is then cout divide val. Alright, so this particular statement will transfer or pass this value, two value, into this particular parameter. Okay, 13 will be transferred here and 4 will be transferred into this particular parameter. Okay, so after this, after transferring this one, automatic this will be calculated here. Alright, so I used return c divided by d, so meaning 13 divided by 4. Alright, so 13 divided by 4, the output would be a decimal point. Okay, so to provide an output, so we have here a cout or return. Okay, so the return will just give directly the result. Okay, based on this data. Alright, so automatically the result is provided by the function. Okay, already. Okay, so we just need to have cout answer is, okay, divide val 13 and 4. Okay, so whatever the calculation of this function will be called and execute. Alright, so let us see the result. So I have here an example, overloading. Okay, here, so we just delete this one and this one. Okay, alright, so we have here void add val. Okay, same process. We have here void float divide val. Okay, so this is having a return value and this one doesn't have a return value. Alright, this one okay, so we have two function here. Okay, but we can add more function into this program. Okay, so it's up to your program, or it's up to the limitation on the program that you are making. Okay, so you can have a different function if you like. Okay, if you are going to use a function to create a calculator, then you can do that. Alright, so to proceed, okay, so this is the same. Alright, so we have here val1 and val2, so we pass this value into this particular function. Okay, so the calculation is here, and after the calculation, whatever the result will store in this particular variable. Okay, to provide an output, all you need to do is to call this variable. Okay, so we have here cout result is x. Okay, so we just call the variable. So in here, divide, so the return value after the calculation of this two data, 13 divided by 4, so automatically whatever the result of this calculation will be returned directly into this main function. Okay, so dito na siya mabutang. Alright, okay, so let us run this program so that you can see the result. Okay, here you go. So our first result is 8. So meaning this is the first function that is being executed. Okay, so it will provide your first output, which is 8. So 3 plus 5 is equals to 8. Alright, so our say out is here in the main in the function. Okay, so unlike here to our function which has a return value, our say out is in the main function. Okay, it's because the purpose of the return value is just to return a value into the main function. So we have here, okay, so whatever the calculation here based on this data will return the result into the main function. Okay, so all you need to do is just to call the name of the function name so that the result will execute. Okay, but you can also use this one, like for example float h. Okay, then h equals okay, c divided by d. Okay, so what you're going to do is the return will be the h. Okay, it's because this is the this is the variable that stored the the result of this two calculated value. Okay, so all you need to do is use this h. Okay, and then let us run this program. Since we don't have the variable here, okay, it's just the same, so just call the variable or the function name to give the output. Alright, so it's just the same with the return c divided by d. Okay, so the answer is the same also here. It's because this data is constant data, so we did not create other variable to represent this data, so automatic we put this data into this parameter. So no need to use this variable to have an output. Okay, but I think it is possible also. Let me try. Oh no, it's not. It's because we are returning this one into this particular function or the main function. So that is why all we need to do is to call the name of the function. It's because that our data will be gone if we are going to what remove this part. Okay, it's because this part is the passing of data into this function. Alright, so that is why we cannot use this variable just to replace this one. Okay, alright, so that's how a overloading function works. Okay, so we can also add another function. Alright, so just like for example int let us say sub, so which means subtraction. Sub na lang, let's say subtract value. Alright, then let us say okay, int l int j. Okay, and then let us see return l minus j. Okay, so here we need to have another variable val3 is equals to 6 and val4 is equals to 7. Alright, so what we're going to do is to call this variable and pass this data, or pass this variable or data into this function. So how are we going to pass? So all we need to do is to copy the function name. So sub val, alright, then open parenthesis, copy the variable name. Okay, val3 and val4. Okay, then terminator. Alright, so result, how are we going to provide the result? Okay, so we just need to have a cout here. Okay, total. Alright, total is sub val, then val3 and val4. Okay, so let us run this program. Let's see the result. Alright, there. Oops. Our output doesn't have a, what's this, headline. Okay. 6 minus 7 is -1, right? So let us change this into 8 or 13. Okay. Run this program. Alright, here. So our result is 8 and total is 6. So 13 minus 7 is equals to 6. Alright. So the answer for this function is 3.25. So it is now correctly give the result of the 3 function that we have created. Okay, so this is how function overloading works. Alright, so I hope you will understand how the function overloading process the data. Okay, so the only thing that you need to do is to understand each functionality of your function, or the definition of your function. Okay, if you know how to define your function, then that's very important. Okay, it's because that's the way how your function works. Okay, so all you need to do is to identify how are you going to use this function to what, to execute your result. Okay, so you need to specify the function of your own function. Alright, okay, so we can delete this one, okay, and the data that we have created, or we can change whatever data that we are going to set as a what, the definition of this function. Okay, alright, so I hope you will understand about this discussion. Okay, so same here. As you can see, I don't have any variable for this function. Okay, it's because I use the constant value directly without using this kind of function, constant variable, okay, with a value. So you can directly put a value into the parameter to pass it into this function. Okay, so here I just copy the what, the variable name. It's because I already have the constant value of that variable. Okay, so this is the difference between these two functions, but both of these functions are returning a value. Okay, as you can see here, this is another way of returning a value, and this is also another way of returning a value. Alright, so I hope you will understand how this program works. Okay, so let us go to the activity. Alright, so activity 4 is all about function overloading. Okay, using function overloading, create a program that will ask a teacher's name, department, and specialization. Okay, for the student, the program will ask a student name, college, course, and department. Alright, so you need to have two functions here, which will cater about the teacher and about the student. Okay, your program will display the inputs of the user. Okay, so all you need to do is just to display whatever inputs of the user. Okay, it's up to you what are the data that you are going to input. Okay, and you will take a picture of your codes and output. Okay, send it to the to our LMS. Okay, so sample output is like, for example, Zayan Fellow, so his name, department says IT department, specialization programming expert. Okay, student name, so Queenie, college CAS, then course BSINT, and department says IT. Alright, so this is an example. Okay, so it's up to you what is the name, what is the department and specialization of the teacher. Okay, then the student also. Okay, it depends on your input. Make sure that you are the one who are going to input the data, not using a constant value. Alright, do not use a constant value here. It's because what I want is the user will input the data so that your program will automatically generate the result. Okay, so right, so I think you understand this one. Okay, so let us proceed to our last topic, which is all about C++ array. Okay, so C++ array is all about an array or allocation of the data, okay, in a particular container. Okay, just like for example, a name. So when you use an array or data type char or a character, you need to specify an array. Okay, that's because character has a capacity of short storage. Okay, so that is why you need to specify array in order to what? In order to provide, or in order to what's this? Cover all the inputs of the user. Like for example, the name. So like for example, Nick. So if your name has um, four letters, then you should have an array which caters for letters. Okay, so that is very important, because if your name will up to 10, then your array is only 4, then what will happen? So the result is only 4 letters. Okay, so the other data that is being inputted by the user will not be displayed. Okay, so it is better to understand how the array works. Okay, so let me show you that one later on. So let us go to our objective of this topic. Our objectives is first able to describe how values are stored in the arrays. Okay, make sure at the end of this discussion you will you can describe how values are stored in an array. Okay, implement an array in the program to organize the data. Understand how useful an array in programming. Alright, so I hope at the end of this discussion all of the objectives will be attained. Alright, so let us proceed. C++ provide data structure, okay, which is the array, which stores a fixed size sequential collection of elements in the same type. Okay, so an array is used to store a collection of data, but it is often more useful to think of an array as a collection of variables of the same type. Okay, so all array consists of contiguous memory allocation. So the lowest address that corresponds to the first element, and the highest address to the last elements. Okay, so since array is indexing, so the lowest address of the indexing is 0, and the highest indexing of the array is up to the limit of how many character does your array can store. Okay, just like for example, you have 10. Okay, you will set your array into 10, so meaning from 0 it will up to 9. Okay, so there is no 10. Okay, or the indexing of array is from 0 to 9. Okay, not 1 to 10. Okay, so here declaring of an array. So how are we going to declare an array? So the programmer declare an array by specifying the form of elements and number of elements specified by the array. Okay, so here we have the data type. Okay, so depending on the data type that you are using, or depending on the data that you are gathering, so it will be specified in this type. Okay, just like for example, you are going to gather data which is a whole number, so what you're going to do is just to have an integer. Okay, integer data type, or a float which will contain the data that has a decimal point. Okay, so array name, so depending on the array, it would be the same on the what's this, the variable. So it's up to you to name your array. Okay, so array size, so don't forget to put an array size. Okay, it's because an array will only cater if you don't set the value of this of the array, the default value will be 0. Okay, so 1 data will be stored in your array. Okay, so next is this is called the single dimensional array. Okay, so there are a lot of parts of an array, okay, or types of an array. So but here we will discuss only the single dimension array. We have multi-dimensional array and so on. Okay, so this is the first way of declaring an array, the single dimensional array, dimension array. So the array size must be an integer constant greater than 0, and type can be any valid in C++ data type. Okay, for example, to declare a 10 elements array called balance of type double. Okay, I use this one, I used here float, not double. Okay, so use statement here. For example, to declare, we have here data type and the array name, which is the balance. Okay, so I use float is because I wanted to store a data which has a decimal point. Okay, so I have here 10, so meaning the data will contain also 10 data inside the array. Okay, so if I am going to use this into, I am going to reduce this into 7, so meaning the data will be up to 7 only. Okay, so 7, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, here this is the 7. It's because our indexing is from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is the 7. If you're going to read this one into numerical, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, so this 3 variable here will no longer be able to display. Why? It's because if your data here is only 7, then the data will display will only up to this point. Okay, this 3 data will no longer be able to display. So that is why we need to remember that if ever your data is larger, so make sure to put unreasonable uh, capacity to your array so that all the data will be covered. Okay, so we'll use this into 10 so that the data will be covered all. Okay, so this is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Okay, so this data is 10. You can also select or check the data in a particular index, okay, using output. Okay, so I will show you later on. So let us proceed to the next slide. Here, the indexing of this array is from 0 to 9. Okay, so array representation, float balance 15. So I put it here 15, but the data is only contained into 10. Alright, so there are 5 container which can be used to store 5 data. Okay, so indexing is from 0 1 to 9. Okay, since our data is up to 10. Okay, but if the data that I'm showing you here is up to 10. Okay, but here I put it in 15 so that there will be an extra 5, okay, container. Okay, so if you're going to adjust or put another data here, so you can adjust this also up to 15 or 14, okay, which is from 0 to 14. Alright, so an element is accessed by indexing the array name. So this is done by the placing the index of the element within square brackets after the name of the array. Alright, so this is what I say earlier. How are you going to check the data in each index? Okay, so if you want to see what data is in index 4 and index 7 or 8 or 1, so you can use this cout. Okay, so to see if the data that is being stored in this particular indexing is 3.3, then you can use this cout. The value of index 4 is balance 4. All you need to do is to copy the name of your array. Okay, balance 4. Okay, this 4 will check the index of this data. Okay, so no, here this is number 4, indexed 4. So because 0 1 2 3 0 1 2 3 4. Okay, so the output would be 5.2. Alright, okay, then the balance 8, okay, which is from 0 to 8 is 9.1, and the balance 2 is this one, 3.2. okay, so let me show you an example. Okay, let's let example this one. Okay, so we have here a value which has 5, okay, array. So these are the 5 value of the array balance. So let us check the index 1. What is the value of index 1? So we have here 0 1. Okay, index 1 will be output of this particular data, and index 3, so 0 1 2 3, will output this particular data also. So let us see if the output is the same. Alright, there. So as you can see, in the index 1, which is 0 1, so there will be 12. Okay, so the value here will also provide 12, and the index 3 will provide the value of 4. Okay, so which is 0 1 2 3. So if you're going to check the value of 0, So all you need to do is to change this one into 0. Okay, then what is the value? 23. So let us see if the 23 will come up. Alright, there. So the 23 is in the output. Alright. Okay, it's because the index 0 is 23. Okay, so that's how are you going to check the value of each index, okay, in the array. Okay, so you can use this one also to check the value in each particular data that you have. Okay, so we will be you will be using this also kind of way to check the value or to specify the specific value of the output, okay, based on the indexing. Okay, let's go back. Let me show you the example of the sample program. Alright, here. So I have here a function. Okay, so this program will pass an array to a function. Okay, so how does an array passed into the function? So what are the particular thing that we need to understand here? Okay, so unlike in the previous function that we have, we usually pass the variable name. Okay, so here we passed the array using the array name and the array size. Okay, we pass the array name and the array size. Okay, so we cannot use only or directly the array name and size. Okay, so all you need to do is to separate the two. Okay, it's because the array name will determine the the value that is holding on the specific size of the array. Okay, so the array size will determine how many data that is being kept in that particular array. Alright, so that is how the function accepting the value that is being passed into it. Okay, so as you can see here, this is our function name and we are going to pass this value. Okay, so value 1, so this is our value 1, so our array 1. So array 1 is having a 4 value, which is 12, 21, 12, 8, 11, and 18. Okay, so all you need to do is to pass this value into the function. Okay, so print value 1, okay, the name of the array and the size of the array. Okay, it is very important to specify also the size of arrays because the function here, the definition of our function here is to determine how many data that is being stored in the particular array. Okay, so to execute that, we have here we have used the for loop. Okay, so for int x is equal to 0, so x is less than size of array. So what do you call this one? Okay, this is the condition of our for loop. Okay, if x is less than the size of array, so this will provide an output and increment the value of x. Okay, increment the value of x into 1 is because the value of here is 0. Okay, so this will output also array, our array. Okay, our array x. Alright, here. And then another one is after executing the first, just like for example this one, let us have a calculation or the process for this value. So we have 4. Okay, so we will start the for loop will start from 0. Okay, it's because our array is also starting from 0. So 0, the for loop or the loop will determine if the value of x is less than or equal to size of array. Okay, so this is very important, is because this will determine the function. Okay, the function of the for loop. Okay, if you put here less than equals, so meaning until 4. Okay, if the x is not equal to the size of an array, so the program will stop. Okay, stop executing for this particular array. Okay, it will jump automatically into this particular array again. Okay, so since we use only less than, so the rotation of this for loop is up to 3. Okay, from 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, alright, so let us try. So we have 4. Okay, so we will loop this one into 4 times. Okay, so let's start in the value of 0. So does x, okay, does x, meaning this one, does x is less than equals the array of this one, the size of the array, which is this one, yes or no? So this is true. Okay, why? It's because 0 is less than 4, which is this one, right? So this will be an output and provide the result of this following index. Okay, so this index will be output also, is because this is from the index 0. Okay, so that will be having an output. Then next is increment, that is the value of x, so this will become 1. Okay, then evaluate is 1 is less than the size of array, so which is our array is 4, so yes. So execute this one and execute the result for this value. Okay, execute this values because this is 1, the value of x now is 1. Okay, our index is 1, so execute the 12 together with the output is. Okay, then another one, increment, this will become 2. Okay, evaluate again, so 2, is it less than the size of array? So true. So meaning this will execute again the output, and what is the value of this? So 2, so the index 2 will output also, which is 11. Okay, so here, so after executing that one, increment the value of x into 3. Okay, so evaluate again, does x less than the size of an array? So is 3 less than to 4? Yes. Okay, so execute this one again and execute this data in the third index. Okay, so the output is 18. Okay, then execute the incrementation. Execute the incrementation, and what is the value of this? So it will become 4. Okay, now evaluate again to the condition, is 4 less than to 4? It's because the size of our array is 4, so this is now becomes false. Okay, so this is the time that our loop will stop. Okay, so the loop will stop into the part is because the condition here is false now. Okay, it will automatically jump into the second array. Okay, so the loop will determine how many data that is being stored in this particular array. So starting from the 0 again, it's because the execution of this value is being stopped is because the condition becomes false, so automatic the program will evaluate this particular array. So starting from 0, evaluate again is x is less than array of size of array into this part. Okay, so which is 2, so that is true. So if it is true, then the cout will execute together with this data. Okay, index 0, so this will be the output 25. So the output is 25, which is index 0, okay, based on this data. So increment, okay, so this will become 1, then evaluate again the condition. So thus 1 is less than equals the size of the array, which is 2, so true. So execute again, alright, and then execute this value here, so which is indicated into this particular index. Okay, so the output is 13. Right, so increment again, so this becomes 3. 2. Okay, this becomes 2. Alright, so thus 2 is less than the size of an array, which is 2. So this is now the time that the program will stop. Why? It's because our condition is false. It's because 2 is not less than 2. Okay, and there are no other data that the program will execute. It's because there are only two data that we have passed into this particular function. Okay, so that's the time that the program will stop. Alright, so to give you an example of output, so let us see this one. Alright, so this is an example of the particular data that we have created. Okay, so let us run into this program so that you can see the output. Okay, so as you can see, we have index 1 is 21, index 2, this is for the array 1 or value 1. Okay, and index 3, okay, 11, index 4 is 18. Okay, so in this particular data or array, it only stops in the index 3. Okay, it's because the function of this particular, or the condition of this particular for loop is become false. Okay, it's because if the value of x will increment into 4, meaning 4 is not less than to 4. Okay, so since 3 is less than to 4, so that is why it will execute the value of 18. Okay, so here, and after that one, so this is terminated. It's because the condition of this is false, so the program will automatically jump into the second particular array, okay, which has a value of 2. Then execute the loop again starting from the 0. Okay, so evaluate the 0 is less than the size of array, which is 2. Yes, so that is true. So execute this one, provide the output of this index, okay, 25. So this is the output, first output. Second, increment the value into 1. Okay, then evaluate the condition, thus 1 is less than the size of an array, which is 2. True, so meaning this will execute again, then provide the value of 13, okay, which is 13 here. Alright, so after executing the result, increment the value of x into 3, into 2. Okay, so thus 2 is less than the size of array, so that becomes false. Okay, so meaning your program will stop into here. Okay, It's because the second array is only have 2 value. Okay, so that is why our output is from 21 to 13. Okay, so first value na to is 21, 12, 11, and 18. So 21, 12, 11, and 18. So this is the first value that is being processed by the function. And after the condition becomes false, then automatic the program start evaluating the second value, okay, which has a value of 2 only. So after the executing that value 2, so if the condition is now becomes false, then automatic the program will stop right there. Okay, so that is why the reason the output is this one. Okay, all right, so that's how passing an array to the function works. Okay, so I hope you will understand about this topic. Okay, so if you have any questions or clarification about the discussion, so you can PM me or send me a message into the messenger. Okay, so activity 5. Okay, so create a program that will ask the student name, address, contacts, call, department, and course. Okay, using passing array to function to select specific data from the specific data from the outputs. So select name, department, and course of the student, input data as an output to your program. Okay, so you will ask this inputs from the user or to the students, and after you will pick the name, school, and course to have the output. Okay, so you are going to pick the name and the school and the department, the course, no, okay, so this one, the course, you're going to pick this 3 data. Okay, so to have as an output, but this one is an input of the user. Okay, so this is how your output look like, okay, in the screen. Alright, so it depends on you on what are the data that you are going to gather and what are the data that you are going to select in order to provide at least 3 output from the selection of this data. Okay, alright, so I hope you will learn something about this discussion. Okay, so thank you for listening to my discussion. Alright, so our next topic is all about class and objects. Okay, so this will be tackled after the midterm exam. Okay, so the references of the topic that we have today is in here. Okay, so you can copy and paste this one into the browser so that you can see examples and explanations also out there. Alright, so thank you so much and good day.